It's a good time to just go live with you doing that, Mike.
Yeah.
Welcome to the Practical Pistol Show, everyone. This is a live edition. We're talking with Mr. Mike Foley, who, in fairness, this was our guy, right, Hopkins?
Yeah, definitely.
Some of the guys on the show voted for Suber, but I think most of us were Foley guys. So, Mike, people on the internet, they're so happy. Some of them are happy. You've won the first round of the elections. Yes?
Yes, I did. Yes, I did. So for those of you who haven't seen it on the USPSA website, where it was posted here in the last little bit.
Hey, just Mike, by the way, because you're probably going to be president soon, I just want to, as an aside, point out, those motherfuckers haven't posted anything on that site. You know, like at the front part, they posted nothing for like 2 years, and now all of a sudden something. So I know they can do it. I know they can figure it out, is what I'm saying. Anyway, go ahead with what you were saying.
Well, so anyway, the results are there, and you'll find that I was the front runner with 2,174 votes. Manny Bragg second with 1,656. Jack Suber in third place with 1,030, and Paul Hyland in fourth place with 221. So what we have now is a runoff. I got 43% of the vote, and so Manny and I will be in this election until December.
Well, I'm going to be honest with you, Mike. Two things about that surprised me. Number one, the overall turnout was a lot lower than I suspected. I mean, I thought, like, people are mad and they're going to vote. They're not my dogs, Hopkins.
I don't know.
Oh, those are my dogs.
Okay.
Kept it quiet the entire campaign.
You let the dogs out, dude.
Well,
anyway, so it was surprising to me that the turnout was low, because I thought there was a pretty... I mean, I thought some people it's on the internet, it seems like everyone's mad all the time. I guess they aren't as mad as I thought, or whatever, you know?
I think we're hearing from all of the angry people, and nobody else cares.
Yeah, everyone else is like, what are you talking about? I go to my club match and everything's fine, and I don't know what you guys are complaining about. And the other thing that surprised me was, like, Paul Hyland got about 200 votes more than I thought he would.
Yeah, he actually got 4% of the total votes.
Who saw that coming?
You know, maybe Paul was a visionary, ahead of his time.
There it is. All right, Hopkins, you've now, because of the, well, what I perceive to be low turnout numbers, you looked up past years, or like the last election cycle.
I looked up the last election cycle. So in the regular race, there were 16,000 eligible people to vote. 5,400 voted. That's 32%.
So the organization, under Phil Strader's guidance, I should point out, has grown a lot.
Yeah, I'd say
last
it
few
gained
years.
about 6,000 people, yeah.
But I haven't gained anybody who's voting.
Yeah, we have the same exact number of ballots cast.
Yeah, what have we actually gained? $40 per. I'd say that's what we've gained.
That's not nothing. That's a good thing.
That's a lot, dude.
All right, so but the turnout percentage, Hopkins, has dropped from 30% to like 22% or something.
Yeah, it's basically dropped 10% in the last 4 years.
All right. My studies of political science says that weirdo elections, like runoff elections or elections held at odd times, tend to be lower turnout. Right. So does that rule hold true for USPSA?
Actually, no. There were
the last runoff.
More people voted in the runoff than actually voted for the regular one.
In the last presidential election.
Yeah, by 61 people.
So you would anticipate maybe a slight uptick of people voting in the runoff.
I'd say it's going to be basically the same, within a few, probably tens.
All right, so Mike, what does this mean for you? I mean, you're back in campaign mode now, right?
Absolutely. As someone put it earlier today, war mode.
War. Well, how do you feel looking forward at the election? So, I don't mean to be out of turn, but kind of the thinking a few months ago was there's Paul Hyland that nobody gives a shit about, and then Jack Suber and Mike Foley are the guys who are sort of really engaging with membership. And if it's kind of like if you want to vote for somebody who's really engaging, you're going to vote for one of those two guys for whatever reason. And then the guy with all the name recognition is Manny, right? So it would seem to me that most of the guys who voted Jack would be like, all right, well, I'll vote for Mike now, because Mike's out there, he talks to people. I mean, you do engage with the membership quite a lot. Yeah?
There's some conventional wisdom there. Many people that I've talked to, that I've met over the course of the last few months, and even people whose posts I've read on certain forums and certain threads, have indicated that Jack was their first choice and I was their second, or I was their first choice and Jack was their second. And to all of those people, I say, if your first choice is not in the race, please consider me as your new first choice.
I'll be your uncle. Mike, maybe you were someone's third choice.
Well,
right?
yeah, well, that's possible.
But you could be the guy, right? If their first two are out.
If your first two are out, and you've already got your carry optics division and your candidates out, then by all means, please consider me as your candidate. And so I suspect, to answer the question, that I will get some of those votes. Certainly, I would hope so. And a lot of people have already pledged their support today, who were not supporting me prior to the last hour and a half or however long this is. It's not even been that long. And
right.
So, I would suspect that trend will continue.
Now, when the podcast guys were kind of talking about this before, my thinking was, well, we've got two guys. We got Jack and Mike who engage with the membership a lot, and they both seem like acceptable candidates to me, but we should probably get behind one guy. To get that guy out front, get that guy a leg up in the election, maybe avoid a runoff. Because, mentally, just in terms of momentum, you would be in a much different place today if you'd gotten slightly less votes than Manny, but we're still in the runoff, right?
Right.
So I think my thinking certainly was, well, let's just get behind one of those guys. Let's just pick one, get behind him, and try and avoid that happening. But the guys that would vote for you or Jack, they still ended up splitting their votes up quite a lot, which is a little unfortunate, but it'll probably all work out in the end, huh?
Let's hope so.
Now, you and Jack are pretty tight, yeah?
We talk quite frequently, yes.
So, if Jack were out in front and you were out of the election completely, you'd be throwing your support behind Jack, I imagine, yeah?
Absolutely, and I had indicated that exact same thing to Jack earlier in the year, and he reciprocated and said the same back to me. And that's no secret. We shared that in public at Area 1. It's not a secret that we had both hoped that if one of us were to fail, that the other would succeed.
Yeah, he hasn't. He posted a long message today. I'll read a little bit of it, but I would suspect he's gonna post probably in the next day or two saying, hey, if you can't get me, vote for Mike, because I think he's the dude for the job. I have to think he's going to do that. But anyway, he posted a pretty long message on the Facebook today, talking about why he ran and some issues he sees. And I'm going to run down the list of issues he sees, because you may well be the guy who has to deal with these issues. And I want to get your take on what Jack is saying.
Sure.
He says, here's what he says needs to be done. Budgets must be submitted in a timely manner, and all expenditures must be accounted for properly. Is it true that USPSA does not have a working budget yet for this year?
They do not have a working budget for 2015 as of last I knew, unless they approved one in a online board meeting.
Yeah, the September 3rd meeting or something.
Right. I haven't looked at those minutes, but
I don't think they've released them yet. They're not out.
So unless they've approved it there is no budget.
Jesus.
I don't want to get into the particulars because I was only there for one of the meetings where this was discussed. I was given a provisional copy of that budget, and I'll say this. Budgets are a roadmap, and while they need to be somewhat based in accurate data and presumptions, they don't need to be perfect. And to run an organization all year without one, to try to make it perfect, is really rewriting history to your own benefit. And there's no reason for us to do that. They should have put out the budget, even if it were not 100% accurate, and then made adjustments throughout the year like all other organizations do. I mean, to me, it's remiss to be this far behind. And I mean, that's an obvious. That's just 101 kind of stuff.
Okay, here's another thing Jack put in his list of things to do that I think you'll find quite interesting. God damn it, Facebook is fucking around with me. He says, in this day and age, our members expect information with hyper-immediacy. Our website and information systems need to be updated so they can get information out expeditiously. What do you think about that?
100% accurate. One of the things that is going on behind the scenes now is a new website. I can only hope and pray and dream that it will have covered all of the contingencies to be modern, to be modular, and to accept plugins from other sources, such that it's, for example, we all have that in our pockets now. We didn't have that last time we wrote a website. So I'm really hoping that at a minimum it's mobile friendly. That it's just current and up to date. There's no reason for us to just take something bad and then recreate it. And so I've seen some screenshots of the information that's going to be on there. I have not seen what the full functionality of it is behind the scenes. And so those are the things that are yet to be seen. But absolutely, that's another one that I can't disagree with Jack. And to that end, Jack and I seldom disagreed this past year. And so, it's not a surprise that he's hitting the highlights again that he and I both talked about all year on the campaign trail. He certainly contributed to the discussion in a spirited way, as did Paul Highland on a couple of subjects, and it's really been a good debate. It's brought out a lot of dialogue from the membership, and a lot of those people are informed and will in short order have a seat at the table doing committee work based on things they've demonstrated knowledge of this year. So there's no question that we're better off because of points like these that Jack has made in his post today.
Yeah, and the other thing, well, when I read that, I'm kind of thinking like, well, having the website and having sort of the information system in place is one thing, but having a president who is interested in engaging with the membership, like coming on here, this is good for you. So some people listen to this and they're like, oh, okay, like I kind of see where Foley's at with this and I understand what's going on. I don't feel like a lot of other people are going to do that,
Well, and it's not just good for me. I think it's good for the membership, and I think it's good for the organization. I think that people want to see the guy, and they want to get their message to him, and they want to feel like they can approach him and talk to him. And if nothing else, Mike Foley's approachable. Gosh, I'm referring to myself in. Wow.
Well, I know that I could send you a message and say, "Hey, Mike, this is what I think," and you'll be. I think that you would say no if you thought I had a stupid idea. I feel like you'd say, "Yeah, we're not going to do that." I mean, I'll hear you out, but we're not going to do that for this and that reason.
Typically, I respond to everything that's sent to me, whether I agree with it or disagree with it. It's not really my place. I'm much of a facilitator in that regard. A lot of times, I'll already know the answer. I'll already know that it's being worked on, or I'll know that it needs to be worked on, or I'll know that I'm planning to work on it. So, in that regard, everyone who's written me during this campaign has got an answer. Everyone who writes me otherwise gets an answer, and they get a pretty timely answer.
Yeah.
Looking at the statistics age, and those stats are with some expediency, because there's no reason to craft a perfect answer. Let's start the dialogue and let's get going.
All right. The last thing that was in Jack's message that really jumped out at me is he said, our next president will face serious challenges and decisions necessary to move our organization forward. I encourage each of you to get to know the remaining candidates and pose your concerns and questions to them. USPSA belongs to you, the members. I encourage each of you to become involved in the organization. Your area directors or representatives on the board, reach out to them and be sure they are responsive and aware of your concerns. I mean, he's talking sense right there, I think. Yeah?
100%. Get informed. And if you have something to talk about, go through the channels to talk about it. Reach out to the candidates. Reach out to your AD. I contact my AD regularly if there's something going on that I feel like that he needs to hear a voice on. And certainly we elected these folks to do the work of the organization. And electing them is just the first step. We don't just throw them up there and say, okay, you decide for me. We throw them up there to get our needs to the table.
All right. I want to read something that Chuck Anderson, a former board member, and a guy he's very opinionated, and he posts a lot of stuff, and I always enjoy reading Chuck's stuff because I know that it's going to be funny, and he's not afraid to be mean to people, which I like. So I want to read this for you that he just posted this like half an hour ago.
Sure.
I'm really glad I was wrong about the way this panned out. I figured a runoff, but Mike already leading Manny's awesome news. Best I could have hoped for. Okay, I could have hoped enough people would get off their asses and voted for Mike that there wouldn't have been a need for a runoff, but it's pretty much a done deal. And Mike doesn't need more votes. If the same people vote for Mike and the same people vote for Manny, Mike will have 50%. I'm betting the vast majority of the people who voted for Jack and Paul will now be voting for Mike. Kind of makes sense. Similar platforms between Mike and Jack. Looking forward to January when the reign of King Beard begins. So that's a pretty good endorsement from Chuck.
It is, and interestingly enough, Chuck's been in the room. A lot of what he says comes from an informed place. He and I squatted together at Production Nationals, so I got to spend a lot of time with him. He was real vocal from the beginning that I wasn't his first choice, but that I was his second. And so to that, I'm glad to have Chuck on board. Certainly Chuck knows that I answer my email and my private messages because he and I have exchanged many this year.
Imagine if you talked to your wife like that, Well, you weren't my first choice, but damn, we're going to...
Maybe. What if your wife talked to you that way?
My wife does talk to me that way. It hurts my fucking feelings, dude. It hurts my feelings.
Oh. But, I don't mind being someone's second choice because a lot of times, just like marriage, we make the best choice the second time around.
Oh, that's probably true. Hopkins, you're not married. You'll see. You'll see when you get married. You'll be like, fuck.
Don't do it, Matt.
Oh, you should do it.
Sleep on that money pillow every night, buddy. Do what you want, when you want, where you want. Don't have to check in with anybody. It's awesome.
So I think what Mike's trying to say is the most expensive women are the ones you don't have to pay for.
Wow. Did I really say that? No, I didn't.
No, that's not. Well, okay. All right, Mike. Anything else you got to say to the people? I mean, I'm happy for you that you did well.
Absolutely. This is our organization, the members. Please vote. Get out there. I know everybody's tired of hearing this. It's been a long year. I know the people at my local club and at all the matches I've been going to, and especially people who shoot all the matches, they've heard this a million times. But please vote. Let's get this done so that we don't have to visit an election for 4 more years, and so that I can get started doing your work to make your organization what it should have been in the years past. And let's get ready to kick it to the next level. Let's get everything the way we want it so we can get back to what we do best, and that is actually shooting guns and having fun and attending matches.
Hopkins, you got anything you want to say to the people? There's like 3 people. You're good?
I'm good.
Oh, man. Well, I got something to say. I don't often just come out and just say this is the way it is, but Mike's the guy. Mike is the guy for us. If you listen, you're kind of interested in the organization and really interested in shooting, Mike's the guy. Mike's the guy for, he's going to listen to what the members are saying online. He's going to listen to what people are saying at matches. And I think Mike will make decisions. Mike is not afraid to, I mean, Mike, you'd smoke a division if like nobody's shooting it or whatever. I think you're not afraid to make decisions that some people won't like, right?
I like to make decisions that are based in facts and data, not, feel good. And we make a lot of our decisions in this sport based on feel good.
Right.
And so certainly we need to start looking at the numbers. If a division doesn't make sense, that's great. But however, we do have other divisions that may not have great numbers that make sense just based on their traditional and classic contribution to the sport. And so, these are things we're probably going to always be looking
right there. So Mike can go take a shit on Limb 10 and defend Revolver at the same time, give you the reasons for it, and not be a dick about it. Not really. That's what I'm saying. Mike's the guy. So I don't have any doubts about it. I think Jack could have been a good guy too. Manny might be the guy, but he doesn't really engage enough publicly with. There's so many conversations going on at matches online. If you're not engaged with that, you don't really know what's going on, and that's how you get the board doing weird stuff. Like Carry Optics is a good example of the board doing something weird, where they're like, "Hey, this ends up being this is something that people weren't really asking for, and if you'd have just taken this proposal and put this online and had people shit all over it." You wouldn't have voted this in. Not this way. It would have been different. So I think Mike will be the guy to avoid things like that happening in the future. And if Mike fucks something up, I think he will admit that and say, well, we did the wrong thing. Let's try something else. So, in my opinion, Mike's the guy.
Thank you, Ben.
Well, there you go. I mean, that's how I feel about it. Mike's the guy. It's real simple. It's like it's taken a while to be like, yeah. I mean, you watch you watch the election play out, but I'm sold on Mike at this point. Yeah. All right. Well, thank you, Mike, for coming on. I hope you do well in the election. I feel like you will. I feel good about it for you.
Well, we've got work to do. Let's just get it done.
Right, and then once you get in there, don't fuck it up.
Absolutely. First rule.
You'll make me eat my words. I'll be like, guys, I said Mike was the guy, but no, but you won't. You'll do fine. I feel good.